My phone buzzed against the steel drafting table a little before midnight, the vibration slicing through the warehouse air like a blade. I froze with my stylus hovering above a blueprint, staring at the glowing screen. Victor Calder. 3 years, 2 months, and 9 days since that name last appeared on my phone. This story is an original creation by the writing team of the Revenge Pulse channel, inspired by the hidden corners of family life and told with the purpose of fostering emotional connection and spreading understanding. I answered without breathing. "Lyra," he said, voice ragged, impatient. "Be at the estate in the morning. 8 sharp. Talon has made a mess again, and the bank is refusing to release the Keats Trust funds without your signature. Do not argue, just get here. No hello. No asking where I lived. No asking if I was alive." A thin coldness slid into my chest. "Is that all I asked?" "That is enough," he said. "We cannot afford your stubbornness right now." There it was plain, polished, familiar. Not desperation, entitlement. "I am not agreeing to anything." I said. "You will." He snapped. "Family handles problems together." I ended the call before he finished the sentence. The silence that followed did not feel empty. It felt deliberate, like a pause in a chess match after someone has made a reckless move. I set the phone down gently beside my tablet. If you have ever had a parent call only when they need something, only when you can be used, you know exactly how that moment feels. And if you have ever walked away from that pattern, tell me in the comments, how long did it take before you realized you were finally free? I leaned back in my chair, letting the quiet settle around me. For the first time in years, I was not the Calder family's solution. I was their consequence. I did not sleep after the call. I sat at my drafting table, the blue glow of my laptop washing over my hands, and opened the King County Public Records portal. I did not type in directions to the Calder estate. I typed in the name that mattered more than any address: Rowan Keats. Aunt Rowan had been the only person in that family who looked at me directly, not through me. Before she died, she pressed a sealed envelope into my hand and said, "Keep this safe. Lyra, you may need it someday." Inside had been a contingency authentication code. I never understood why she trusted me with it until tonight. I entered the code, and the Keats family revocable trust opened like a locked door giving way. Rows of documents, annual filings, amendments, trustee designations. I clicked through them quickly, my fingers steady. When I reached the liquidity summary, I stopped. The minimum requirement was $300,000. The current balance was $18,700. I whispered. "You drained it." Saying it aloud made it real. Then I found the clause succession protocol, written in Aunt Rowan's meticulous, lawyer-perfect language. If the trust balance falls below the minimum threshold, and the acting trustee has failed to maintain fiduciary responsibility, the successor trustee shall automatically become the youngest female heir over the age of 21. A slow, controlled breath left my body. I was 24. Victor had failed. The trust was mine. My phone buzzed another message from Nadia. I ignored it and opened the trustee communication log instead. The bank had tried contacting Victor twice. He had ignored both attempts. That explained the midnight panic. As I scrolled, footnotes appeared, referencing legal obligations, potential penalties, forfeiture of authority. Each line tightened something low in my stomach. I murmured, "You really thought you could fix this with a signature?" The warehouse was quiet except for the soft hum of the heater overhead. In that quiet, something shifted internally, something clean, sharp, and long overdue. My phone buzzed again. A voice note from Nadia. "Dad is losing it. You showing up fixes everything. Stop being dramatic." I played it once, then deleted it. My voice was barely above a whisper. You do not get to define dramatic anymore. I returned to the trust documents and opened the final page. The one Victor should have read carefully but never had the patience for. Successor trustee authority is immediate upon breach of fiduciary duty. Immediate. I closed my laptop slowly, deliberately, feeling the weight of the truth settle into my bones. Tomorrow, they expected me to show up as the forgotten daughter. I would walk in as the trustee they never thought I could become. I shut my laptop, but the words on the trust documents kept echoing in my head: successor trustee, breach of duty, immediate authority. None of it surprised me as much as it should have. Maybe because I had already lived through a different kind of breach long before the numbers ever failed. It began when I was 19. I remember standing in the hallway outside the Calder kitchen, hands folded behind my back so no one would see them shaking. It was my birthday. I had bought myself a soft blue dress with the money I earned tutoring kids who never bothered to learn my name. I wanted that day to be different. Not louder, not grand, just different. Inside the kitchen, Evelise was crying into her phone. Talon did not start the fight. She insisted. The school is exaggerating again. Victor barked into another line, pacing. Find a lawyer who can make this disappear. I do not care how much it costs. Nadia stood at the counter, glaring at her reflection in the microwave door. If this noise ruins my audition prep, I swear I waited 10 minutes. No one turned. No one said my name. Finally, I whispered, "Good morning." No one responded. No one even flinched. Evelise brushed past me, tears streaking her cheeks. "Lyra, move. I need space." Victor waved a hand without looking in my direction. "Do something useful and find Talon's backpack." He left it again. Nadia rolled her eyes. "Why are you dressed like that? You look—" "I do not know. Strange." I swallowed the words I wanted to say. "It is my birthday." Nadia snorted softly and walked away. Victor did not hear me. Evelise did not care. I left the kitchen and walked outside to the back porch. Aunt Rowan was gone by then if she had been alive. She would have noticed. She always noticed. That night, when I came home from school, the house was dark except for the hallway light. No cake, no note. Only a list stuck to the fridge for the housekeeper. Pick up Talon's dry cleaning. Refill Nadia's protein shake mix. I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at my hands. They looked too steady for how hollow I felt. Around midnight, I got up, pulled a clear plastic bag from beneath my mattress, and counted the money inside $5,200 from selling study guides, doing lab reports, and writing essays for kids whose parents bragged about buying them opportunities. As I zipped the bag closed, I heard Victor snoring through the wall. Talon's television murmured softly upstairs. No one was awake. No one was looking for me. No one would, I whispered into the empty room. If I walk out now, they will not notice until they need something. I packed one backpack, 2 pairs of jeans, 3 shirts, my birth certificate, Aunt Rowan's old letter telling me she believed I would build something remarkable one day. When I stepped into the hallway, the floorboards creaked once. I paused, not out of fear, out of curiosity. How long? I wondered. Before anyone realized the quiet was not just me being useful somewhere else. I closed the front door gently at 2 a.m. I did not slam it. I did not want to wake them. 3 months passed before Evelise finally called. Her voice was light, almost cheerful. "Lyra, the cable bill is overdue. Did you forget to renew the autopay before you left?" That was the moment the last thread snapped. The daughter in me went silent, and the architect began to take shape: cold lines, clean angles, foundations built without permission. And tonight, staring at the trust documents, I realized I was no longer remembering that girl. I was meeting her again. By sunrise, my phone had slid halfway across the drafting table from the constant vibration. I let it buzz until the sound became part of the room, a kind of mechanical heartbeat I did not belong to anymore. When I finally reached for it, the screen was stacked with notifications, voice notes, texts, missed calls. The first one was from Nadia. I pressed play. Lyra. Dad is furious. Mom is crying again. You skipping out is, honestly, embarrassing. Talon is facing real consequences this time. You showing up fixes everything, so stop acting like any of this is about you. Her voice was sharp, polished, meant to cut. I deleted the message without responding. A new text appeared immediately. Evilise, using her version of tenderness as a weapon. She sent a photo of the veranda, sunlight hitting the ivy-covered beams I used to sit under when I needed quiet. Your Aunt Rowan loved this house. She wanted us to stay happy here. Please, do not let pride ruin the family. I stared at the image. Rowan had loved that veranda because it was the only place where I could breathe. Evilise had never understood that. Before I could close the message, another alert appeared. Talon, Dad says if you do not come today, he is reporting the car key thing. Says he will tell the police you stole them and ran. I exhaled slowly. Not shock, not fear, recognition. I typed nothing. Instead, I took a screenshot and saved it in a folder labeled Evidence, Calder. The phone buzzed again, vibrating hard against the table. I let it ring. Their urgency felt distant, almost unfamiliar, like noise from a house I no longer lived in. I whispered, "You do not get to summon me anymore." My laptop was still open to the trust documents. The clause naming me successor trustee glowed on the screen like a quiet verdict. They were calling because they believed I was still the girl who would rush home to fix what they broke. But the only thing I intended to fix now was the truth. By late morning, the warehouse office felt colder than usual. Cohen Maddox leaned against a stack of crates near the door, arms crossed, silent but alert. He always watched the room the way a sentry watches a perimeter steady, immovable, a presence you felt before you saw. Across from me, at a dented metal desk, Jace Marrow opened his laptop. His fingers moved fast, precise, like he already knew what he would find but hoped he was wrong. "Lyra," he said quietly, "you should sit." "I am already sitting," I replied, though my pulse was not. He angled the screen toward me. "This is the Keats Trust transaction ledger. Look at the dates." 3 lines glowed on the screen, identical except for the timestamps. $40,000, $40,000, $40,000. 3 attempts, a total of $120,000, routed toward an offshore betting shell. My voice came out steadier than I expected. Victor did this. He tried to, Jace corrected, but the transactions were blocked. A trust of this size requires 2 signatures and in-person notarization for high-value transfers. Your father forged your part, but the notary stamp he used was invalid. Wrong state. Wrong date. Cohen exhaled sharply, sloppy, desperate. Jace tapped the screen. If he had succeeded, the trust would have collapsed even faster. The bank flagged all 3 attempts as potential fraud. They will escalate this. I felt something tighten and then settle inside me. Not fear, not shock, but clarity. And he wanted me to sign a retroactive authorization to make the forgery real. Yes. Jace's voice softened in a way that made the truth hit harder. If you sign anything now, you become co-liable. You would not just be covering up his crime. You would legally share it. Cohen straightened, jaw flexing, which means you do not go near that mansion alone. They corner you, pressure you, record you. Every angle is a risk. I looked at him. You think they would trap me? I think they already have. He said. Jace nodded. Lyra, this is not a family dispute anymore. This is financial fraud. The moment Victor realized the bank flagged the attempts, he panicked. He called you not because he cares, because he needs a clean signature to save himself. Not happening. I said. Jace hesitated. There is something else. He pulled up a scanned document, an authorization form covered in Victor's handwriting. At the bottom was my name, written in a curved, careful script I recognized from old birthday cards I signed as a teenager. He had traced me. My throat tightened, not from hurt, but from recognition. He thinks I am still 19, I said. Someone who would sign anything just to make the yelling stop. Jace closed the laptop gently. You have grounds to file for a trustee suspension. Immediate. State law is on your side. Once you file, Victor loses all authority until a judge reviews the case. Cohen pushed off the crates. Say the word, and I will drive you. I stood slowly. My legs felt steady, planted, not shaken. Help me file the petition. I told Jace. Then I will go to the estate. Cohen frowned. Lyra, I am not going to save them, I said, cutting through the room like a blade sliding free. I am going to inspect what they tried to steal. Jace handed me the printed petition, his eyes reflecting a mix of worry and respect. Once this is submitted, everything changes. I took it. No, I said. Everything already has. The drive to Bellevue felt shorter than I remembered. Maybe because I was not coming home. I was approaching a site of inspection, the way an engineer approaches a structure she already knows is failing. When I turned into the Calder estate, the gates opened automatically, still programmed to recognize my truck from years ago. The irony struck somewhere low in my chest. I parked near the veranda. The door was unlocked. It always was when they expected obedience. Inside, Evelise's voice drifted from the dining room. She will come. She knows what is at stake. Victor replied sharply. She will come because she owes this family. I stepped into the doorway. I do not owe you. The room froze. Nadia's phone slipped from her hand and clattered against the table. Talon stared at the floor like the wood grain might save him. Victor recovered first. He forced a strained smile. Lyra, you look functional. Working does that, I said. Evelise clasped her hands. We are relieved you came. There is a form that needs your signature. Nothing complicated. Once you do that, everything goes back to normal. Normal, I repeated softly. Is that what you call this? Victor gestured impatiently. Sit. Let us resolve this. I will stand. My voice did not rise, but the shift of power was immediate. Victor's jaw tightened. Nadia finally found her voice. Lyra, just sign the paper. You always clean up messes anyway. I looked at her, at all of them, at the table arranged like a negotiation they assumed they controlled. I am not here to clean anything. I said, I am here because we need to discuss the truth. Victor slid a single sheet of paper across the polished table as if it were a peace offering. It was not. Here, he said, sign this, and the bank will stop being difficult. Talon's legal team can move forward. We can return to functioning like a family. Evelise nodded quickly, as if she feared the fragile hope might disappear. Your father has been under so much pressure. Lyra, we all have. Just help us. One signature. Nadia leaned back in her chair. Honestly, this is not complicated. You are making it complicated, Talon muttered without lifting his eyes. Dad said you would show up. He said you always fold. I did not sit. I did not touch the paper. What exactly am I signing? I asked. Victor's smile tightened. A retroactive authorization stating you approved a transfer from the Keats Trust earlier this year. The bank requires dual consent from trustees. I explained you were unavailable. They want confirmation. That is all. That is not all. I said. Nadia groaned. Here we go. I lifted the document with 2 fingers, as though it might stain my hands. This says I approved a transfer on February 14th. Victor swallowed. Correct. 3 transfers. I clarified. $40,000 each. All directed to an offshore betting shell. Evelise blinked fast. What are you talking about? I set the document down. The bank blocked every attempt because the notarization was invalid. The state stamp did not match. The date did not match. The signature did not match. Victor's face drained of color. "Lyra, lower your voice. I am not raising it." I replied, "You are just used to me being quiet." Nadia looked at Victor sharply. "Dad, what is she saying?" Victor snapped. "She is confused." The bank overreacted. I was borrowing against future inheritance. Families do that. Forgery is not borrowing. I said. Evelise stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. "Lyra, listen to me. This house, your aunt loved it. We built our life here. You cannot destroy it because of some misunderstanding. It is not a misunderstanding." I said. "The trust ledger shows the withdrawals. The bank flagged them. And the moment the liquidity fell under $300,000, the acting trustee lost authority." Victor forced a laugh that cracked at the edges. "What authority? I am the trustee." "No," I said. "You were." I pulled a folded document from my jacket and placed it next to the forged authorization form. "This morning, I filed a petition with King County Superior Court for trustee suspension due to breach of fiduciary duty. They acknowledged receipt." Talon finally looked up. "Suspension. You cannot do that." "I can." I answered, "Because the trust's succession clause names me the replacement, the youngest female heir over 21, in the event of mismanagement or breach." I held his gaze. "That is me." Evelise shook her head as if trying to fling the words away. "You would not do this. You are not. You are not cruel." I met her eyes. "Telling the truth is not cruelty." Victor slammed his palm on the table. "You are my daughter. You owe this family loyalty." I stepped closer, calm as a blade. "I owe you accuracy, not loyalty." Nadia pointed at me, voice trembling with outrage. "Lyra, you cannot come in here acting superior. You left us. We stayed." "Yes," I said. "You stayed, in the same patterns, in the same lies, in the same messes." Victor grabbed the forged authorization, thrusting it toward me. "Sign it. If you care about this family at all, sign it." I let the silence stretch, cold and deliberate. "No." The word landed like a dropped gavel. Victor stared at me, stunned. "What do you think happens if you refuse?" "I know exactly what happens." I said. "The bank will proceed with their fraud inquiry. The court will review the petition. The trust will be placed under supervised management until a judge decides whether assets, including this house, must be liquidated." Evelise's voice cracked. "You would take our home." "I am not taking anything," I said softly. "I am allowing consequences." For the first time, they understood. Nadia's arms folded tightly across her chest. Talon's eyes darted toward the door. Evelise trembled, and Victor, once unshakable, sat down slowly, like the weight of truth had finally settled onto his shoulders. "You think you have won," he whispered. "There is nothing to win," I replied. "There is only what is true." No one spoke. No one moved. The Calder family finally stopped performing long enough to hear the sound of their own collapse. I walked out of the Calder estate without looking back. No one followed. No one called my name. The air behind me held nothing I needed to reclaim. At the warehouse, Cohen waited near the loading dock. He did not ask what happened. He only said, "You are still standing. That tells me enough." Inside, my laptop chimed with a new message. Jace had sent a short line. "The court has acknowledged your petition. The process has begun," I whispered. "Good." Not triumphant, just steady. A cardboard box sat on my drafting table, one I had not opened since I left home at 19. Inside was Aunt Rowan's handwriting, looping across a small envelope. The key to her cabin in Port Townsend rested beneath it, cool against my palm. Cohen watched me close the box. "You leaving tonight?" "Yes," I said. Something is finally mine to walk toward. The drive north was quiet. the kind of quiet that did not demand anything from me. When I reached the cabin, the door opened with a soft click, as though Rowan had left it unlocked just for this moment. I stepped inside and felt the beginning of something I had never had: space, not silence. If you have ever rebuilt your life from the ground up, share your story below. Someone needs to know they are not doing it alone.